Hi, it's Paula here at Scrappy Fix and Moxie Mojo. Just doing a quick video response for Susan Taylor Brown, her video that she put up about glue napkins, 0 wrinkles, an easy tutorial, no plastic bags or wraps. Susan went in or did this tutorial and she used Mod Podge and golden matte medium, and I wanted to check for myself how they went and then compare some other different glues and adhesives and mediums, given that I had some in my stash, and also to see whether it was as good as what Susan had shown on there. And so I've done some testing this tonight using 7 different products that I've got. So matte medium from multi-matte medium from Ranger, Elmer's school glue just to see if a PVA would work. I've got Americana decoupage, decoupage. I've got Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium Matte from Ranger, Golden Fluid Matte Medium, Mod Podge in Matte, and also Reeves Gloss Gel Medium. So these are all ones that I've been able to get here in New Zealand, which is why I wanted to test them, because that's one of the things that we often struggle with here, is that a lot of people show tutorials with products that they can get in the States or the UK, and we just can't get them here. So it's like, okay, well, what can we do with what I know for sure we can get here in New Zealand? So I went through and I tested 6 different things. Tested Tim Holtz printed tissue, deli paper, and this is a New Zealand based one, some sheer fabric, some paper napkins. I did a couple of those on just a small portion, and then like a full-size book page, and then I used some printed tissue to see what that was like. Gone through and compared all those 6 for all 7 different mediums, and had quite a variety of results, as you can see from my table. And you can lift that up, so if anyone wants to read or can try and read my scrawl, but I will go through them and let you know what I thought. So starting with the Ranger multi-matte medium, and yes, this is just one of the small half-ounce bottles. I just used that. One thing I felt straight off was that I needed to turn the iron up quite high to get any results, and that was probably the one that I had to heat the longest in order to get any kind of results. Eventually it did stick down, no wrinkles, stuck in all the corners, but did require extra heat. Deli paper, again extra heat, but there is quite a bit of texture coming through, and I don't know whether that was because I was ironing on top of a towel or not. But I think it could just be the deli paper, because that seemed to wrinkle on just about every medium that I used. But at least it adhered, a little bit of cornering coming off, but that could just be that I didn't really hit the corners well enough. So I'll take that one, because that seems to be a common recurrence. Sheer fabric, and this was a scarf that I found in an op shop, and I've just sort of trimmed it up. Okay, but there seemed to be a little bit of lift in there, but again, it could be just my getting the adhesive out to the corners, but I do love the way that the text underneath shows through. This is a paper napkin that I trimmed up, some lifting again, gains the corner, but where it has stuck down seems to be quite well, and I would probably trim these out anyway so that I could use these as decoration. So a little bit of corner lifting on there I wouldn't worry about too much for my purposes anyway. Napkin on the whole page, okay, extra heat needed, and there were some wrinkles showing, particularly down in the bottom, but that could just be me being pedantic. A little bit of lifting, but overall really pleased with how that one came out. You can see the text coming through on that, but it's a little bit lighter than I thought, and I think that could be just because of the grey background, but that's okay. And then this one was the printed tissue. This one I was disappointed in, and gave it extra heat, but there's lots of lift, lots of wrinkles and bubbles, so I wouldn't use, you know, that matte medium for this type of fabric, even though this was a heavier weight book page, so I would have to find something else to use. Elmer's glue, basically in a nutshell, I wouldn't recommend PVA at all. The Tim Holtz printed tissue did not stick at all. The deli paper lifting, as you can see, pulls right off, and the deli paper itself has got quite a few wrinkles in it. The sheer fabric lifted off completely, and I tried to do it again with a bit more glue, and in the end I just melted everything together, so that was a complete write-off. The napkin, hardly any of it attached. There's lifting all over the place, and it just pulls off, so I'd say that's a no. The napkin on the whole page, that's a no. And the printed tissue, in the end, after all those no's and fails, I didn't even attempt, because I didn't think it was going to work. Americana decoupage on Tim Holtz tissue. This was excellent. No sign of any wrinkles, no lifting, so I was really impressed with that. The deli paper, everything has adhered really well, but there is a lot of wrinkling coming up, and that's over the entire piece. But in some ways that texture is kind of cool, so I'm torn about that one, yes or no. Again, not sure if it was as a result of the towel that I had underneath. Sheer fabric, yep, that's adhered really well, pleased with that. Fabric, the text rather of the book page underneath shows through really well. The napkin, a little bit of bubbles on the side, but adhering is very good. Pleased with that. So that one was well done. Adhering to the full book page. This is spot on. Everything's attached. Nice and flat, so I could happily turn that into an envelope or a page, turn it into pockets, anything. So happy with that. And then the printed tissue, that has adhered really well. Pleased with how that's gone on. There are a few wrinkles, which seems to be pretty consistent with all the printed tissue, so I don't know if it's the tissue itself, or because I put it onto a thicker book page, but pretty much all of them came up with wrinkles. But it's something I can live with because, you know, it's still texture there. The main thing is just getting it adhered onto there as well. So the decoupage was pretty good, just, you know, worked all the way across the board with a few wrinkles on those full pages. So I definitely use that for this tissue thing. Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium, that was a matte. On the Tim Holtz tissue, there's a lot of lift and can pull it off quite easily, so I'd say that's a fail. The deli paper, pretty much adhered all over the place. Again, cornering is an issue and some lift there, but I've got to pull it up quite a bit. But there is a wrinkle problem on there that is pretty significant, so I'd said it was okay, but there's lifting and wrinkles, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. There's other ones that worked a lot better. On the sheer fabric, okay, but it lifts off quite easily, so that's a fail on that one. The napkins, okay, but again, some lifting on those corners, so fail. Lots of lifting on the full page napkin, on corners all around, so that's a fail. And on the printed tissue, some pretty good adhesion. There is a little bit of lifting around the side, but it's really bubbly as well as the wrinkles, and particularly around the sort of edges here, you can really notice those bubbles. So I'd have to like somehow try and glue that down again, so I wouldn't recommend this one. It would be okay if you were going to trim out bits of it or die cut it into something smaller, but using it as a whole page or turning it into, it might be okay turning it into a tag, but you would just need to be conscious of some of these bubbles. So that unfortunately is a fail. So far we're 3 down is no go. And we've got 1 still in the running there. The golden fluid, which was next, and I've got to spot them, I put them in the wrong order here. On the Tim Holtz tissue was not bad adhesion, but lifting on some corners, so that could be my application. A little bit wrinkly, but still did the job. On the deli paper, some lifting of the corners, but there is some wrinkles coming up, particularly down the bottom, and I'm not sure if that is the deli paper reacting to the heat. It could be that. You can see them particularly in here where it is around the image. There's like a sort of sunburst type wrinkle there. The sheer fabric, that was excellent, so pleased with that. The napkin, again, excellent, no lifting, that's all stuck in place really well. On the whole napkin, there is some lifting and more sort of bubbling on the side there. But where it has stuck down is really good and nice and smooth. So it could be my application, but it's again something to just be aware of with the golden matte medium. And the last one was the painted tissue, the printed tissue. It's lifting up quite easily there. A lot of bubbles and wrinkles, so I'd probably, yeah, I'd say that one's a bit of a fail, because there were ones that adhered a lot better. So, yep, fail on that one. Mod Podge, excellent for the Tim Holtz tissue, though there is some lifting on the corners there. Again, that could be me, although it is peeling off quite easily there. That seems to be an issue. The Tim Holtz printed tissue just didn't, I think it's not suited to the technique. There must be some kind of coating in there that doesn't allow the glue to soak into the material or the tissue. So it could be the tissue itself rather than the technique. The deli paper, few wrinkles, but good adhesion on this one. Really impressed with that. Corners there, but is peeling off. So again, the deli paper does have kind of a coating on it, so I wonder if that's the problem there. Sheer fabric adhesion was really good. See the words coming through, so pleased with that. Tissue adhering very well. Nice and smooth application, so there's no bubbles or wrinkles. This was the full page using the Mod Podge. I'm really pleased with the way this one's come out. So this would be ideal for if you're wanting to create envelopes out of something you've done with this. So one or two wrinkles there, and that could be just because of course they're folded napkins. I may not have stretched them out a little bit for fear of getting my fingers burnt by the iron, but overall really impressed with the way that has applied. And then with the printed tissue, very good adhesion, few wrinkles in there. Up the top there is some lifting. You can see that now, lifting quite easily. So it is a shiny pattern or printed tissue, so whether that has anything to do with it or not, I might have to talk to Susan and see sort of what her samples and testing have come up with, but that may just be an issue. But I mean, what I'd suggest then is if it holds for the most part, perhaps look at sewing around the edge just to keep the edges all nicely attached, and then you can use it for whatever you're wanting. Then the last one was the Reeves gloss. So really good adhesion with the tissue, although just seeing it now, there's one corner there that's just lifted a little bit, so that could be more of an application problem than anything else. The deli paper, this is probably one of the best in that everything's well adhered. There doesn't seem to be any, or at least the warping that is there is very minimal and is hard to see. In fact, you can't see it, so you can only really feel it, but you can't see anything there. Sheer fabric, yep, no problems there. Adhered really well in place with that. The tissue paper, excellent attachment, no lifting, no wrinkle. Oh, yeah, a couple of wrinkles there, but that could have been that the tissue was wrinkled too much. The full page tissue adhered really well, apart from one of the corners, but really pleased with that, although I can see there a little bit of bubbling just on the edge. But again, that's one of those things that you can sew into place. Then the last one was some lift on the corners with the printed tissue. There is a little bit of bubbling, but for the most part that has adhered in place. So again, it's something that you could work with, sew around the edges just to make sure that everything's firmly in place there. So out of all of them, I'd say the Americana decoupage was really well done. The Mod Podge, although it did have quite some lifting and bubbles on the full pages. No, that was the golden fluid, so that's if you've got it, yeah, you can use it, but it is kind of expensive, so maybe not. Mod Podge seemed to be one of the best performers, but overall I really like the Reeves Gloss Gel Medium, and whether I think this one could be because it has it's got that gel consistency, and it was a little bit thicker, more like the decoupage as well. These two were a lot thicker than what the others were, and I think that could be the key to getting a really good adhesion with any of your like tissues or shears or sheer fabric or anything like that, is if you go for a gel rather than something that's more liquid, I think you're going to get better performance. So that's my assessment after all that testing. I'll be interested to see if anyone else has done any more and what they've come up with, and I will catch up with Susan and see what she has to say. But having done all the testing now, certainly a technique that I'm going to have another go at, and looking forward to actually going through and making something out of all these now that I've had a play. So thank you for watching this video response. Let me know what products you've tried and what successes and failures you've had, and keen to find out what's the best product for us to all use for this, because it's a great technique, nice and easy to use, and works on a variety of materials, which is perfect. So happy crafting, and we'll see you all later. Bye!